Welcome to another episode of Varsity House Podcast, Sports Show Edition. On this episode, we'll be talking about the NFL playoffs, specifically Dak and the Cowboys, Hurts, and the MJ comment. Damar Hamlin. There's some speculations that he might have been a clone. So we'll tap into that a little bit. Eli Apple, they had their off day today, so it seemed like he spent last night on Twitter. And then we'll also get into some Cleveland sports, talking about Nick Chubb a little bit. But again, I'm your host, Shaun Crawford, and co-host Carl Jones. Before we start, make sure you check out the last Varsity House Podcast episode featuring Ty Isaac, former running back from Michigan. Great episode. He gave some insight into, being a five-star out of college, wanting to choose USC, coming from the Midwest, wanting to go to USC because, a lot of people from the Midwest didn't do that back in the day, still don't do it. But then also just, how just some of the rules, affected his career, like not being able to transfer where he wanted to, being blocked from certain schools that he had on his list, and then ultimately, injuries and just other adversities that kind of just plagued his career. But all in all, great conversation, a little insight into someone who necessarily doesn't make it, but continues to grind and continues to endure all the things that, a player that does make it. So great conversation there. But let's get started into, this weekly sports update. Obviously, it was a great weekend for NFL football. I was glued to the couch Saturday, Sunday, like I said I would be. But let's start with that first game, the Jags and the Chiefs. Yeah, at the end of the day, thought it was going to be a blowout. I thought Chiefs were just a better team. They were experienced. Jags, I think, obviously they came back and won that game in the wild card, and it was, a great win. But figured that their, season would be over this past weekend. Mahomes getting injured, going out definitely made it interesting. Oh snap! Like Jacksonville might have a chance to move on. But Chad Henne came in and did his thing a little bit. But also Mahomes toughened it out, came back, fought through the pain. He's a warrior. But so Carl, let me get your takes on that game.
I kind of had PTSD a little bit when I saw Chad Henne come into the game, because for Cleveland fans, Chad Henne did the same thing with Mahomes. I believe got a concussion against the Browns in the 2020 playoffs, and they still found a way to get a win. As a Browns fan, that just hurts to this day. Like, the closest chance we got to a conference championship, no Mahomes, Chad Henne still finds a way to get the win. And it's kind of funny, his game-winning play that he had, Tyreek Hill rolled out, caught the little rollout sprint draw, whatever. He executed one of those plays early on in the drive when he got in. I'm like they just be writing the script. The NFL, the best script writers there is, man. So shout out to him being ready at all times. I know being a backup quarterback is definitely not easy. I know the paycheck is, but I know just the job and preparation isn't. But Mahomes, I think that's the story of the game, man. I mean, obviously him being able to gut through a high ankle sprain. I've never had one of those, but everyone I've talked to said it's painful as hell. Much worse than just a normal ankle sprain. And going forward, that's going to definitely be a talking point this entire week. I'm sure every single talk show in both Cincinnati, Kansas City, and quite frank, National are going to be doctors this week and talk about what Patrick Mahomes can and can't do, right? So, but nonetheless, though, shout out to them for battling through some adversity, and also the Jaguars for coming back from a season where Urban Meyer kind of tanked it a little bit, and Doug Peterson and Trevor and all the young studs that got over there turned things around in 1 year.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. I thought it was a great game. Definitely competitive to where it's the injury, kind of helped make it competitive, I guess. But at the end of the day, I mean, that's part of football. Like you saw Pollard go down, guys go down, week in and week out in the NFL. And so, the teams that are able to adjust and, next man in are usually the ones who, continue to have success. But, moving on to another game we want to talk about. We don't want to get into the Cowboys yet. We'll save that one for last. But let's get into the Eagles game. Dominant team. Eagles and Giants was a good game. Eagles were very dominant. Like, obviously with the week off, I didn't know what to expect. I thought the Giants were rolling. I thought they were going to have some juice about them. Like we mentioned before, it was going to be a physical game. I thought I thought it was going to be run heavy on both sides of the ball with Saquon, and also with Miles Sanders and Jalen Hurts, that combo. Also with Daniel Jones too. But it just the Eagles are the Niners of like the East. I know me and you kind of talked about this yesterday too. Where you look at the roster and it's loaded everywhere. I mean, I think if you look at maybe for the Eagles, if you look at maybe safety position or maybe linebacker position, that's might be where they lack. But and that's just me being like picky. And so, but like every other position, you got all pros or you got Pro Bowlers at the position. So at the end of the day, I thought the Giants did a great. I thought the Giants had a great year. I thought they maybe even exceeded some expectations that fans had, that the football world had for them. It's great. It was great to see Saquon back fully healthy, doing his thing. Daniel Jones, I'm sure the Giants are going to have some, they'll have to handle that situation in the offseason. But at the end of the day, the Eagles came in and they showed that they for real.
Yeah, I saw someone say this phrase earlier in the postseason. I forget who it was, but they said coaching gets you to the postseason. So I mean, that's a huge kudos to Brian Dable, Doug Peterson getting the Jaguars to the dance. But at the end of the day, players win you the games in the postseason, and that wasn't any more apparent than that Eagles-Giants game. The Eagles have 6 All-Pros and countless others who could be on that level of play, and it showed. It showed. Like, I don't know how many players you would take on the Giants before you, how many, what I'm trying to say? Like, that's how, different the talent discrepancy is. Obviously, Saquon Barkley is an all-pro type of guy, talent. And this isn't to disrespect the Giants at all. They got some dudes over there, some dudes who, your boy Julian Love, I saw him still making plays all over the field. Daniel Jones, wasn't the biggest fan before this season, but he stepped up when needed to. And, obviously ran into a buzzsaw that is the Eagles, but, nothing short of good of what he did this season. But, yeah, that Eagles team that looked like the team we saw back in September and October that was clicking on all cylinders before Jalen Hurts went down. That 38-7 in the postseason. I don't care who you playing. That's I don't care if you playing the Texans, all right. Some other grown men. And it's the way they did it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they were throwing the ball all around the yard. It was one play where I think they ran inside zone 7 times in a row. And I'm just sitting here y'all got to chill. This looked like it's hurting for me to watch this. I can't imagine what it's like actually getting ran the ball over and again. So that style of ball translates to the postseason. And, boy, did it ever so do so Saturday night.
And now the next game we want to talk about Bills and Bengals, a game that you were even at the game. I think it went different than everyone could have expected. And I thought, it being snowing, I thought, Bills play in snow, a ton of times. Bengals are also from Ohio, Midwest team. So I didn't think that it would affect them that much, but I just figured that with the weather, the snow, it was just, I thought it was just the Bills season. I'm gonna be honest with you. And even, how the game went, I feel like the Bills isn't they're not they sometimes start slow regardless. And so I was looking at Twitter actually this morning, and I saw a guy who was sitting in a chair, slumped over. It was a meme, and the comment was he live bet Bills 3 times. And so I'm looking at that because I'm watching the game and I'm just waiting. I'm waiting on Josh Allen. I'm waiting on the Bills to just make that play, to get within, one score, to get within 3 points, and then finally take the lead. Because that's just something that we've seen the Bills do, all year round. We see Diggs come up and make crucial plays. We see Allen, do crazy stuff, run around, use his legs, run over people, things like that. And I was just it just felt like I was always just waiting for that. And I know the Bengals are a good team and, great teams, went to the Super Bowl last year. So obviously, an experienced team as well. But I just was waiting on the Bills to make that play and to get back in this game. Cause I'm all right, bet here it go. Here, this is what we look forward to. This is Allen versus Burrow right here. Whoever gets the ball last is going to win the game. And so, I was kind of disappointed in the game, but it also just showed where the Bengals are. Because obviously I want all the games to be competitive. I want to see Josh do his thing. I want to see Stephon eat. I want to see all those dudes ball. But I don't want to knock the Bengals just because I wasn't satisfied with, what I was looking for, because what the Bengals put on display is like they're ready. And they're eager and hungry to get back to the Super Bowl because they got unfinished business. And so you see, Joe Burrow, making the plays. You see his receivers like Chase, Higgins, like making one-handed catches on the sideline in the snow. You see Chase, getting open, running and scoring, doing their players made the plays. And Joe did his thing as well. Joe Mixon also, I mean, he's a hell of a talent in the backfield. And the defense definitely shocked me because, like, I look at the Bills receivers and I'm like, all right, bet. Like these receivers can get open versus anyone. And what the D-line for the Bengals did, you got Hubbard and you got Hendrickson. Like, those boys be coming. Like, those are some ballers right there. And then, on the back end, they just complemented each other well. I think Mike Hilton had that sack late in the game, and I was like, that one looked like it hurt, and that one looked like that one might be icing on the cake too. So, Bengals are ready. Bills got a lot to do in the offseason. I think they had a hell of a season. But obviously you're close to the Bills. You were even at the game. What was the experience like, for you being there, but also Bills Mafia, who were so passionate and who had they probably had tickets booked to Arizona already. So kind of just, talk about, you being there and just that experience.
I think this loss hurt more for Bills fans than even the 13 seconds debacle last year. And I know for those who aren't from Western New York, that 13 seconds loss, just seeing how it affected the Western New York community was something I've never seen in terms of a loss. And I'm a Browns fan.
I mean, they changed the playoff rules.
Yes, they literally changed. They changed the rules, the trajectory of overtime in the NFL solely because of how the Bills lost. That's how devastating of a loss it was. Just 13 seconds. You can't say those two words around here in Western New York without getting a side eye. That's how devastating it is. And having said that, I think this year's loss was much worse. You were at home. You were in the elements, so that's supposed to be your ideal circumstance. This is supposed to be the year you go all in. Now, granted, you lose your pass rusher that was supposed to be the guy who takes you over the hump in Von Miller. You lose Micah Hyde in week 2. You deal with the things they've dealt with emotionally this entire year. You got to deal with the mass shootings that they dealt with back in June, the 2 blizzards they had that had to cause their travel to be delayed, the Damar Hamlin situation, the injuries that they've had on both sides of the ball. I get it. It was an emotionally draining season. Having said that, the fans don't really care about that, which is wild to say. But, I mean, they're fanatics for a reason, right? I mean, fanatics just want to see the players on the team ball. But you can tell the team they talked about it after the game. The juice wasn't there. Hearing Matt Milano, the all-pro backer, just say they didn't have that juice is so wild to say considering it's a playoff game. Like, how do you not have juice? But I've never been in a position where I saw my teammate go lifeless on the field. I've never been in a position where I've had my game moved 3 times in a season. I've never been in a position where dealing with mass shootings and stuff like that. So I'm not giving them any excuses. The Bengals, what they did is how they won is, I think, says more about them than what about the Bills. The fact that they ran for 150, I believe, and they don't even run the ball that well is crazy to me. Like, they were down 3 linemen and said, you know what? We're going to run the ball down your throat even with our backups, with our P squatters. What's up? Like, the bully's going to bully today. And that is what's fascinating to me. I think what's scary about this Bengals team, they kind of got like this mojo, this bravado about them where they don't care.
No,
they really don't care.
They got sauce. They got sauce.
Do you feel me? Like, Joe Mixon talking before the game, talking about no one thinking we underdogs. We the AFC defending champs. What the hell are y'all talking about? Joe Burrow, who I think is the coolest dude on the planet, just how he says a little shit. He go, do you feel like you're an underdog, Joe? He goes, I've never felt like an underdog. And then when he said the week before that, do you feel like the Super Bowl window is closing a bit? The Super Bowl window is open as long as I'm here. I'm hearing it. I'm like, them boys got it. And obviously Chase got his own swagger, Tyler Boyd. And then don't get me started on the defense and how crazy they be acting. That Bengals team is legit, and is not, obviously they're talented players, but their mindset as well. I, as a former ball player myself, you admire that because that's half of the battle. And, boy, they walked into Orchard Park, walked in your trap, took over your track, and hit them boys right in the mouth. That's just nothing but love for that.
Even just thinking back, I remember we did a podcast with Nick Chubb and, Demetric Felton from the Browns. And Chubb was saying, he was like, I think we can make it to the Super Bowl just because the Bengals did it. And now, like, I'm seeing the Bengals play, and like obviously we saw the Browns play, and it's like, you know, I don't even want to say that the talent is equal, because I think the Browns have potential. As with the talent that they have, receivers, I don't think we touching them on the receiver side yet. I think we can make some moves, and because we can be there, but it's just it's something different. Like it's not even like that they just go out and they always got the best players on the field. It's just like they are a very confident bunch. Like they got that. Bro, I don't
There's
even
that
know.
moxie to him, that swag.
Yeah,
like I don't know,
it's
like
different. It's different because it's like when they like you got Joe. It's just like how they carry themselves, and I think people are gravitating towards them and like just becoming fans of them, and they know like no matter what, it's just like, bro, like we're like that. Like I think it's like a bad play happened, a good play happened. It's like, bro, we're like that. So we don't like we gonna get it fixed.
And you look at that defense, and you talked about Hubbard and Henderson. Jesse Bates is an all-pro type of guy back there, roaming the safety. Mike Hilton, probably the best nickel in the league. But they don't have like these world beaters on defense like the Niners or Eagles do. Yet they find a way when it's playoff time to nut up and make plays. I know Odell went down in the Super Bowl, but boy, they clamped the Rams up in that Super Bowl. I mean, I know Mahomes put up 21, I believe, to start the game. They shut out the Chiefs in the second half of the Super Bowl. They scored 3 points, I believe, in the second. Like, this is a team who plays above their talent level, and when it's time to rise to the occasion, 10 points in Orchard Park, Josh Allen? You kidding me? Like, that's OD. Like, I mean, the shout out to the DC for the game plan, but at the end of the day, the players got to play, and they made life hell for the Bills all Sunday night, both sides of the ball. Like I said, this says a lot more about the Bengals than it does about the Bills.
And now we get into the Niners and Cowboys, probably one of the most talked about games. The closest game too. You're watching that game, and it's like at the end of the day, it played out like last year. Dak having the ball with not much time left. Having to do what is it, like 1 minute offense, not even 2 minute offense, but like 1 minute offense. Trying to get down there and get a score to get the victory over the Niners. And I mean, it was talked about a lot. It was talked about a lot for a lot of reasons. I think a lot of people were ignoring the fact that it was a good game, that it was a close game. Yeah. Like it's the Niners. Like it's not like, oh, we lost the game to some other team. But it's the Niners. Like this is an experienced group. This group was also, a couple plays from going to the Super Bowl last year. Maybe even a quarter. Like they always a quarterback away. But I'm just saying, like they were a couple plays away from going to the Super Bowl, and they barely lost to the Super Bowl champions. So I don't think a lot of people have even looked at that aspect of it. But we will talk about what people are looking at, and that's Dak and his performance. It's like, never mind the fact that the Niners got, Fred Warner and Greenlaw and Bosa and I don't know the safety's name, but he's an amazing player. Hufanga. So they never mind the fact they got these guys on defense, right? And I'm definitely forgetting a few. And never mind the fact that Tony goes down and things like that, to where it's just like, let's just all focus on Dak. Like he didn't just play probably the best defense you'll see, all year. But let's just focus on Dak. And I think, at the end of the day, I think quarterback is the hardest position in football, from, little league to all the way to the pro level. Anytime you're controlling the ball, every single snap on offense is going to be tough. You're going to have eyes on you. And obviously that's the job that, he signed up for. That's the job he gets paid for. But so I don't want to definitely say I'm just, I got Dak's back and all those things, because I do understand that's the job. That's what you got paid all that money to go win the game in this situation, to be the face of America's team. And so I don't know. It's tough because you want to see Dak do well. You want to see the Cowboys get over a lot of people may not want to see the Cowboys get over the hump. But I want to see Dak do well. He just happens to play for the Cowboys. And, I don't know, because it's like, people are talking about, I seen Skip Bayless say Cooper Rush would have won that game. But it's like, we haven't seen Cooper Rush in that position. I know Cooper Rush came in the regular season and he made some plays, won some games, but this is a completely different ball game. On the road, like, come on, man. Like, I'm sure they had the future plan in the stadium and all those things. Like, come on. Like, it's tough. It's definitely tough. And then you lose, one of your best offensive players who's supposed to, like, help you in the pass game, run game, spice things up on the offensive side. But at the end of the day, like, Dak is, I think, still, I wouldn't say he's in that elite category, but he's still a good NFL quarterback. And that's the thing where I don't think a lot of people understand. It's hard to find good quality starting quarterbacks in the league. So it's like, oh, let's just go find someone better. It's like, it feels that easy. Don't you think the who is the starter the Panthers, they went Baker, they went Darnold, and then like
PJ Walker.
So it's like, don't you think if it was easy to find, starting quarterbacks in the NFL, they would have found like a better one? And so like it's crazy that like people think, oh, because you lose a playoff game, on the road against the Niners, who could potentially win the Super Bowl, it's like, oh, like we got to get rid of him. He's terrible. But I do think the last drive could have went a lot better. Like when they put Zeke at center, I honestly thought it was like a trick play. Like, okay, Zeke gonna snap it. He might run. Like, I don't even know if he was eligible, but like maybe he'll run straight down the field.
On some pee-wee shit, like some backyard shit.
Flag football, like run down the field, would try to get him to. I don't know. But the fact that they put him at center to block, why don't you just use your regular center? Like, what was the difference? So, and then it was just target practice after that. Like, Dak almost got sacked. He threw the ball to the receiver. Got the last play of his season. He probably bruised up, sore, just from like he taking his trip to Cabo, Cancun, wherever he going. Now he got to delay it because he got smacked on the last play of the game. He might have a concussion, sprain ankle, whatever. So. I don't know what that play was, so maybe McCarthy and Dak gotta do something. But at the end of the day, it's just like that's just NFL football. I mean, you played a hell of an opponent. I would say them and the Eagles, Bengals. I don't even know. But I would say from that side, I would say the Niners. Eagle is tough, but I would say the Niners have a great chance of going to the Super Bowl and winning the Super Bowl. So I don't think the Cowboys were that type of squad. I know it's a lot of gas. I know it's a lot of hype around them, but I never saw the Cowboys hosting up the Lombardi. That wasn't it for me. Cowboys fans are delusional. So, but let me get your take on that.
Yeah, I mean, first off, with the Dak conversation, look, I might not be the biggest Cowboys fan. Actually, I hate them, but I can put my personal bias aside and admit, you get rid of Dak, you guys are in quarterback purgatory for the next 10 years, like you guys were after you lost Aikman. Like, do Cowboys forget that after they lost Troy Aikman during their Super Bowl dynasty, they went until Tony Romo 15 years later to find a good take it from a Browns fan. These dudes don't grow on trees, man. I just got a franchise quarterback, and I've been alive 24 years, man. And it took me 24 years to find it. And you know what's crazy? We got him, and bro, and it's not his fault. I think he'll bounce back next season and be all-pro level again. But he played poop the 5 games he did play, so I still ain't seen a franchise quarterback in Cleveland. That's how hard it is. You feel me? Having said that, though, putting my quarterback rant aside, like you said, that Cowboys team I never thought was a Super Bowl caliber team. I think a lot of it has to do with that they lost to the Niners. They lose to, I don't know, the Cardinals or another team that's not their rival. It doesn't hit as hard. But I think the Cowboys' problem is when you have this elite quarterback who commands so much money, because he allocates some of the cap to him, you're going to ask him to, elevate some of the deficiencies in the roster, because they never replaced Amari Cooper or the wide receiver too. Once they got rid of Coop, they literally put all their eggs in CD to be Jesus. And it's this is the NFL. CD's going to eat, and he did. Boy, did he eat against the Niners. But I need somebody else. And then when you lose Pollard as well, so you never get your wide receiver two. You never get him. I don't know what y'all was doing with that. I don't know if you assumed Michael Gallup off of a torn ACL was going to be that, but you failed miserably with that. And then, unfortunately, the way the game broke down, Pollard fractured his fibula, I believe, so he was done for the game. So you guys were really playing with one hand behind your back. I know Dak didn't make great decisions even when Pollard was in there. That one pick was early on. But you gotta be real with your team and your chances here. That team never had a chance, at least going forward after Pollard got out of that game. Dak is still your guy. Even money-wise. They cut him this year. They owe him $89 million in dead cap. So, right, wrong, or indifferent, Cowboys fans, Dakota Prescott is your quarterback next year. Deal with it, all right? Now it's on your GM to find some guys who aren't as expensive, whether that's through the draft, whether that's a veteran, to help him out on the offensive side of the ball, because I really love where Bucky Brooks from NFL Network broke this down a couple years ago, and it stuck with me. There's trucks and there's trailers at the quarterback position. There's 4 trucks in the NFL. So, y'all got to stop saying if a quarterback's not elite that he sucks. That's just not how this works. You probably got Allen, Mahomes, Burrow. I don't know. I don't know if I want to put Herbert in that kind of conversation as a truck yet, because he's really darn good. But, what has he elevated his team to at this point? Having said that, though, okay, and everyone else is trailers. So, stop the conversation about, if he's not top 3, then he sucks. Well, then, boy, you in a rude awakening, because in the playoffs right now, we got Brock Purdy and Jalen Hurts, who are not elite quarterbacks at that level. You can find a way. You just got to draft better and be a better GM to help out Dak, because what he had around him at receiver was unacceptable by any means. It just wasn't okay. And I say this as someone who covers the Bills, who I think they need better weapons, okay? But the Cowboys fans who are out on Dak, you can miss me with that. I was a Browns fan for 24 years. I'm not hearing that.
And it's good that you talked about Jalen too, because you say he's not in that elite level. He's not that truck yet. I mean, obviously when you compare him to Mahomes, the Rodgers, the Allens, Burrow, it's very, very few. And even Sirianni, the coach of the Eagles, made a comment saying, Jalen Hurts is our MJ, our Michael Jordan. And I mean, you could definitely dissect it many different ways, but he also knew. I won't say that he just was flat out calling him Michael Jordan, because he did say, he said it'll come off weird, it'll come off wrong, but he's like our Michael Jordan. And him by saying that, I know he was like, okay, but he's not saying he's Pat Mahomes or anything like that. He's just saying what his value to this team, because they played games without him. And so you got to see it. And so you got to see what his value is to this team when you talk about the MVP, most valuable player, and things like that. And you talk about just maybe that Jordan effect. It's when you have him on the field, or when you have Jordan on the court with you, you have a chance. And so I think, the Eagles being able to experience some games without Jalen, I think that's why he made that comment, to where it's if we got Jalen, we got a chance. All he got to do is do what he do. Just do you. Get the ball to A.J. Brown. Hand the ball off to Miles Sanders. Let the defense get good field position, because they're going to make plays. They're going to create turnovers. Also, Devontae Smith. They got players. They got players everywhere. So, I'm not upset with that comment. I understand that comment. Once you kind of dissect it, I don't think he's calling him, Michael Jordan, the GOAT, the greatest player of all time, or even just the greatest, quarterback in the league right now. I don't even think he's saying that. He's just saying, Jalen Hurts' value to this team is felt. When he's on the field, they're a better team. When he's on the field, they have a chance to win the game. And so, obviously, big game this weekend. You got the Niners and you got the Eagles. Both and then we already mentioned the skill positions. We already talked about the O, we didn't talk about the O line, but both got great O lines. Both got amazing D lines. DBs. Pick whichever one you want. You know what I mean? Receivers, pick whichever one you want. Running backs. So at the end of the day, this game is going to be incredible. Quarterback play. Eagles got. I would give the nudge to the Eagles. They got Jalen Hurts a little bit just better than Brock Purdy right now, more experienced, things like that. But when you got skill position guys like that, I can't even I really can't call it on who's going to win this game, because it could be Slay making a late interception. It could be Bosa getting a late, strip sack. Who knows? And they got those type of players. It could be Debo breaking 89 yards, off a jet sweep, something crazy like that. But this is a game that I'm very, excited to see.
Yeah, it's not that I'm not excited to see the Chiefs Bengals. I've just seen it 3 times, and this will be my 4th. And I do want to see how Mahomes can battle on that ankle and do some, Michael Jordan flu game type shit. I I would be very interested to see if they can get over the Bengals hump, which is so weird to say that the Chiefs can get over some hump, right? But having said that, though, I tweeted this earlier in the week that this Niners-Eagles game is going to sound like the first day of full pads and fall camp. Like, that's what it's going to sound like. Like, these teams, like, every time you watch the Eagles, they just look like they're trying to bully you. And every time you watch the Niners, they just look like they hate you. And now you got these two big old bullies on the block facing each other, ain't nowhere to hide. And it's at the Link in the Philly. Every time I watch that on TV, that shit look crazy. Like, it looked insane. It looked like a zoo. Like, that's how much, like, energy be in the stadium. Nothing against the Niners faithful, but just watching the Eagles Stadium from over the years as a fan, it looks insane. I can't call it either, but having said that, if I got to, like, pick one or the other, I would have to pick the better quarterback because the rosters are so even. Like, they're literally about as even as you can get. But in this situation, I think that, how do I want to word this? The Niners have to protect their quarterback a little bit more than the Eagles have to, like in terms of play calling, in terms of being a little less risk averse in situations like that. Like, I think if it's 3rd and 12, I don't know how much Kyle Shanahan is still going to let Purdy rip it down the field. Like, he might still, screen that shit down, bro, or hope these dudes get some yak, like one of those. I think they still trust Jalen Hurts enough to go rip a 3rd and 12. But either way it go, I just love these two because I do believe, because I don't know about the ankle of Mahomes. I'm not a doctor. We won't claim to be, guys. But I do believe this winner probably is my Super Bowl pick for a winner just because they trenches is just so absurd. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, and then even, touching on that, even last year you saw what problems the Rams gave Burrow last year, and then obviously Donald getting that game-winning sack. Like, so the trenches are gonna matter, and you talk about also not being that great of a run team. Well, it'll definitely play out. So, now that we touched on the playoffs a little bit, we do want to touch on some speculations that I guess were made, last night, or I don't even know if it was last night, but we'll touch on both of them. But it was basically because of Eli Apple. So Eli Apple was making tweets, last night towards the Bills players and their fan base saying, good, like Cabo on 3 and things like that. Just saying, just talking trash basically because they got the win. Normal Eli Apple banter or whatever. But one thing I did find I typed in Eli Apple and somehow I got on this whole Twitter thread down this rabbit hole of Damar Hamlin clone. And so, people like obviously it worked. It was people who are conspiracy theorists saying saying it. So it's like they accept who they are, and they was just going down they were just going down the little rabbit hole, and I followed. I'm not gonna lie. I was searching it last night. I was looking. I'm like, man, he really didn't show his face. Like, so I'm looking at it like. But at the end of the day, I'm looking at it like, bro, like I just got out of the hospital. I don't personally. I don't know what he looks like as far as he's probably dehydrated. Everybody comes out of hospital looking, different, and probably someone who just, a cardiac arrest.
Saw the light.
Yeah. Is probably not looking his best as far as sleep under, worse than sleep under his eyes, but bags under his eyes, whatever. So however you want to look in public, bro, that's on you. People are walking. We were just wearing masks. Some people still are. So, but we were just wearing masks 2 years ago. So it's for someone to walk out in public after being in a hospital, immune system's not that great. For him to have a mask over his face, I get it. And then also for him to have shades on, I get it. He come on, but
I wore shades.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So,
I was at the game. I didn't want the snow in my, and I know he was in a suite, but the snow, the sunglasses one didn't make sense to me. I know a lot of people around me was wearing sunglasses.
So I get it. I just think it was. I thought it was just funny. I thought it took over. Social media last night because even Damar made a comment. He commented on a picture and just said clone or quotations clone and things like that. So he thought it obviously it caught his attention.
He having fun with it.
It caught his attention. Yeah. It was a funny, scenario, but we also have a friend, a very close friend who was bought in. He was yeah, it's shaky. He was he said it was so we got to see it from two sides. I tried to see his point. I tried to be the person in the middle. Carl, he wasn't having it at all. But nah, I thought it was just funny at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that stuff can be toxic and harmful depending on how far it goes. But the only person that matters in this situation is Damar, and clearly he's the one that had fun with it, tweeting about it. Because if it was me, I just would have ignored it. Like, I'm not putting no energy to it. But he clearly having fun with everything. The question I have about everyone who thinks this is stunt double or whatever you want to call it, what are you going to say if he comes back and, like, tries to play football again? Like, you tell me a clone can be just as athletic to play NFL ball again? Like, that's where, like, some of the stuff where I'm like, oh, that's not him, that's someone else. Okay, but then, like, what in a week or two he's ready to do interviews and it is him? Like, that's where the stuff kind of boggles my mind a little bit. But nonetheless, as I told you ad nauseum off air, I have no issues with people, like, having these thoughts and stuff like that. Because if you getting your paper, man, get your paper. As long as it's not harmful to the rest of society, which this one isn't. Like, ooh, cool, you think Damar Hamlin's a clone. But, I mean, if that's – I don't think that conversation is harmful at all. That's not hurting nobody because D. Ham himself is not harmed by this. It's the tweet he showed. But nonetheless, it was a little comedy on my late night seeing that because you know me. I really don't be looking for shit. And I guess that's probably like a flaw. I really don't be looking for shit. So, like, I go about my day. I'm tunnel vision. I'm locked in, baby. You feel me? Whatever on my schedule, that's my schedule. And then I saw that. I'm like, damn, I'm doing a terrible job as a media person not seeing this shit. Like, keep working my market. And I'm sure when I get into work today, they're probably going to bring it up. I'm going to be like, yeah, bro, I was late to the hoopla. I don't know. But nonetheless, I thought it was funny just being able to hear the sides and the debates about it. The sunglasses one, I'm like, damn, so was I a clone? Because I was wearing glasses too. But nonetheless, it's all jokes to me. I ain't really sweating.
Yeah, shout out to Eli Apple. Thanks for bringing.
Shout out to him, man.
Thanks for bringing that to our attention. But that's just the Bengals. Like, that's just the Bengals swag. Like, it ain't no, like, I saw teammates of his, like, gassing him up, like laughing at it and just, like, making jokes. And I think that's just, like, that's just a culture. Like, they don't care. Like, we here. Like, that's just how they carry themselves.
It's funny because, like, everyone on social media be trashing Eli Apple, which is hilarious to me because, one, you're not in the NFL. I don't give a damn what you're saying, bro. I don't care how many times he get bombed or blurred or whatever. Bro's still catching a paycheck, so he clearly ain't that damn bad.
And he's a Super Bowl starter. And he's, almost on this, could potentially be, there again. So say what you want to say. Like, I saw a bunch of people, like, posting the catch that Cooper Kupp made on him.
Cooper Kupp.
I'm like, yeah. Cooper Kupp has beat a lot of people in the NFL. So, hey, at the end of the day, it's like if they can post pictures of you getting beat in the NFL, consistently, and you still in the NFL, hey, a lot of people will want to be getting beat in the NFL. So, going on that point, obviously he said the Cancun on 3. So, Bills are in this. Bills are now headed to the offseason. Some may go to the Pro Bowl. Some, whatever, they just may go to Cancun actually. So, the Pro Bowl setup this year is a little different. I mean, they got there's no game. There's no real game. And, at the end of the day, it's like, I stopped watching the game, to be honest, because it's hard to play football and protect, like, someone. So, you can't play football at like half speed because then it looks like what the Pro Bowl looked like. And so as a fan, it's like, bro, we got to stop doing this. And no one was really happy about it. So I get what they're trying to do. Still invite the guys out, allow them to have a great, time, reward them for, their accomplishments, their performance this season. So I think they're doing just like different, like, skill challenges, different games like that. So, who knows how it'll go. I remember, like, back in the day when you had, like, Darryl Green and them boys doing a 40-yard dash. I don't know. Like, today, people be like, oh, my hamstring, like, but it's also some people who will get out there like Micah Parsons, who I feel like he's one of the best competitors in the league. It's like, nah, if they actually do a 40-yard dash, I think he'll get up there and, like, try to really go run. But for me, it's like, if you don't want to do something full speed, then don't do it. Because it's like, if I'm gonna see a 40-yard dash and they put some great people in there, I want to see guys take off. Like, don't do it and, like, get the first 10 bursts and then get out of there because it's the Pro Bowl. You don't want to hurt your hamstring. We'll find some guys. Don't worry. We'll get on the phone and say, hey, you want to run full speed in this 40-yard dash and get paid? So, but I think we'll see. Like, we haven't seen the setup yet. I thought the dodgeball game a couple years ago was, interesting. It's something on TV to watch while the Super Bowl, while the real game, not being played. But we'll see.
I think it's two events they got to bring back, and I checked the event list. They ain't got it. They got to have that quarterback longest throw. I'm sorry. Like that, I think that was so – and you got superstars doing it. I'm seeing Peyton Manning doing it. I'm seeing Big Ben. I believe I saw Brady do it one year. And I understand social media these days where if someone doesn't perform as well on that, they get trashed on that. They didn't have to deal with that back in the day. I get it. But the longest throw, NFL find a way to bring that back. And then, of course, the fastest man. Like that has to be brought back in some capacity. I'm sorry. Like those two events – are the staple of what you do as a kid. When you playing in the backyard, there's two things you always do. You're saying, hey, who can throw this damn ball the farthest? And B, who gonna win in this damn race? Why we ain't got them two in the Pro Bowl? So that's my gripe about it, but I never watched the damn Pro Bowl, man. Like, the lore of football is how violent it is. You can't play football half violently. That's just not possible. So I'm happy they got rid of it. They heard enough complaints about it over the years, I'm sure, from not just the players, but the fans as well. So that's good to see. But I will say, though, they should invite me because I will kick everybody's ass in dodgeball. They can invite my ass purely off that. I'm telling you, the way I can contort my body. Man, back in middle school, I went to the same middle school as Crawford. Let me tell y'all, I was tough in dodgeball. I never could get my ass up.
They should
invite me to the Pro Bowl.
I think that can low-key help with the fan experience. It's like maybe since they do it like just skill challenges, maybe like let some fans get involved.
Man, put the media in there, man. I still got
no, not the media. Some fans. We need fans. We don't need the media get in there because then the media he might ball out and be like, I could have, and we don't need that on TV. We don't need that on TV. Unless it's like Skip and we can get Skip on there.
No, you can't have Skip in there because if Skip playing dodgeball, I promise you, them balls is gonna.
That's what I'm saying. So we can definitely get him in there, but. Last topic before we hop off, we definitely got to, since we're some Cleveland guys, definitely got to touch on some latest Cleveland, sports update. Shout out to the Guardians. They had their fan fest, over this past weekend. Shout out to them. Hopefully they a lot of fans showed out to that, went to that, supported them. But I see a lot of talks about Nick Chubb. And usually when I see Nick Chubb, trending, it's great. Like, oh, he was, first time being All-Pro, Pro Bowler. Most yards after contact, just all great things. And then I'm over here now. I'm seeing like Nick Chubb, trade rumors. I'm like, damn, like what? Like, imagine being like in trade rumors when this is the first time you've been named All Pro. Like, come on, like you've been working your entire, like maybe last year or the year before, but like now, or maybe when I slow down. But like now when I'm at the peak, and now I'm starting to get the respect from my peers and everything, and now my home team, it's like, and it's obviously rumor, so who actually knows what's true, but just like now, like my name's being brought up in trade talks. Like, come on, man. Like I know that can't be like easy for him, especially because he's been carrying a load for the franchise that's been struggling. So it's like, bro, to me, it's like, damn, why, like, to me? Like, if I was Nick, I'd be like, me? Really? But, whatever.
the conversation is so dumb to me, and I don't like using that word lightly, but it's dumb to me. For the simple fact, I know people don't like the old paying running backs thing and all that, whatever, I hear you, whatever. But the Browns on offense are Deshaun Watson, Nick Chubb. You got an older Amari Cooper who still had a fantastic season, by the way. But like, where else are you allocating that money to on offense where like it's a necessity? Kareem Hunt is an unrestricted free agent, so we lose him. I don't care what you're saying, dog. Who is this rag? Like, who are you going to put in the backfield next year that's going to replicate what Nick Chubb just did? Nobody. Offensive line is really, really good, but I promise you, Nick Chubb, like you said, yards after contact is a Nick Chubb stat, not an offensive line stat. Okay, the conversation is done to me. He's only making 12 a year. I know people are so scared of the running backs because of the Zeke deal and like Le'Veon Bell. Zeke made like 15 a year, and he's still getting. This is how crazy the Zeke deal is. Zeke got paid signed that deal in 2019. That money is going to be on the books until 2025. So I understand the Cowboys book problems. They still got to deal with Zeke another 3 years. Nick Chubb is unrestricted. We have 2 more seasons under contract of Nick Chubb. What are we doing here? And like, oh, we're gonna trade him because he's a running back. He's not that damn valuable. So what value you think another team gonna give you? If the team that want to get rid of Nick Chubb don't think he that valuable, which once again, these rumors are not probably from the team, they're probably from just fans and stuff like that. But be real as a fan for a second. If the team themselves don't want Nick Chubb, what do you think the team outside of the Browns are going to think of that? They giving a 1 away from Nick Chubb? No, hell no. If I'm not getting a 1, your quarterback, stake and money to the franchise, a couple hot dogs, I don't fuck your trade, to be all due respect to you. So that whole conversation to me is so dumb and futile. He's been carrying his franchise. He is the franchise. You can miss me with that. Like, a quarterback's best friend is a run game anyway. So, like, why would you make Deshaun Watson life any more hell than what it needs to be? I heard that on Twitter, and I wish I was in Cleveland at the time so I can hop on the radio and put my 2 cents on this. But God got better plans for me. That's why I'm up here, because I probably would have lost my job if I
I'm dead. So, no, we appreciate, again, your support. You know, we appreciate you, tuning into these updates. Continue to just, like, comment, and share. Please, comment on it and let us know your thoughts on, things that we talked about, also some things that we maybe didn't cover that you might want us to cover next time. But also continue to look forward to the podcast episodes with just, featuring different guests that also come out. Again, we got some more coming out this week, and obviously the following weeks as well. So I will be out I'm trying to get Carl to come, but I'll be out in Vegas for the Pro Bowl. He said, wait, he's like, because the Bills might go to the Super Bowl, so you might have to cover that in AZ. So, we'll see now. I think Burrow said, we say you better get those refunds. So, all the Bills fans out there.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie to y'all. That is the bar of the century. That's the bar. Y'all better get them refunds. All the Bills fans out there, just move your flight up a week earlier, come to the Pro Bowl, have fun, celebrate Josh and who else? Oh, Milano. Celebrate some of those, and maybe some more who made it, but celebrate those guys. You ain't got to get you might have flight credit, so just change it over to Vegas. So, but no, again, these are fun for us. It's something that we want to start doing, dropping 2 episodes, 2 different podcasts a week, one just strictly sports, but also one, diving into the guest, diving into the person, getting to know, some insight into, their lives and what they've gone through and just who they are basically. And so that's always our goal, is to, shine light on the person, not so much what they do, but who they are. But thank you again. This is another episode of Varsity House Podcast, sports show. We'll continue to bring them to you. So just continue to follow us on all of our social media accounts, Varsity House Podcast, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Varsity House Podcast. So appreciate you guys.